Right, good afternoon. It's 12 o'clock, depending on which clock you're looking at, or just gone. And welcome to the Transforming Care report out. And thank you all for accommodating the change of time. There's a lot of trust meetings today, so we've brought it forward by half an hour. So no, that doesn't suit everybody, but thank you all for being here. First of all, we're going to check in at Shrewsbury, and we should find Marie-Claire and Rachel waving at us. And it's great to see that Simon, Chief Exec, has now joined us along with our other audience and executives. So we're good to go. So let's start. I'm Cathy Smith. I'm Kaizen Promotion Office Lead. Kaizen meaning improvement for the better, continuous improvement. It's a word that has Japanese origin. We're starting to get to know these terminologies that support our transforming care production system. So the highlights this month from the KPO team, the Kaizen Promotion Office, is that advanced lean training has now started here on SAT site. So we're being supported by our colleagues from the Virginia Mason Institute to provide this training. So this time next year, you'll see colleagues outside of the KPO team leading the RPIWs, the Rapid Process Improvement Weeks. We'll be supporting them, but that'll be really exciting to see the growing number of staff that can lead those, because it means that we can do more. Also, very excitingly, we're coming to the end of the sessions, 6 sessions of training for our Lean for Leaders this year. So there's many of your colleagues who are frantically doing their homework for the week after next to come to session 6, and they'll be putting all of those skills into action going forward and be again improving more and more of our processes. But it's just not our lean leaders undertaking this work. Our 5S training, the methodology for making our environment safer is really taken off across the trust. And we've got Carla, Rach and Yvonne leading that work, and it's spreading with great enthusiasm. And some of the examples I'm hearing now is that the resus area in A&E is now safer for child resuscitation. Patient packs are available in pre-op. Admission kits are now available in day case, and grab bags for taking blood samples are available in ED, as well as supply kits for non-invasive ventilation on Ward 27 and Ward 4. And all of these examples of applying the methodology make our care safer, and they make these intense situations less stressful for our staff. So some really great work, and I know I haven't mentioned all of them. They're just a few examples. I also want to tell you that we've launched the patient safety value stream. So that's our 5th value stream, and in December we'll have our first workshop looking at how we can make safety huddles more effective. And so that gives us 5 value streams now, including sepsis, recruitment, ophthalmology outpatients department, and this week we have our 6th RPIW report out from our very first value stream, respiratory discharge. I want to take this moment to acknowledge Debbie Cadham's support as exec lead for the value stream, because it's been quite a journey Debbie and I have been on supporting that first value stream. And you probably know she insists on retiring to the sun in December. And it's not easy being the first, so her energy and commitment has really helped me and others. So Saskia just wants to mark the occasion. So Debbie, you need to come where the camera can see you, and Saskia.
Debbie, you are undoubtedly an inspiring leader. You've been an amazing executive sponsor and amazing generally in the hospital. You're always cheerful while being hugely productive, and we're really going to miss you, not only in the hospital generally, but particularly from the point of view of BMI.
Okay, so stepping in. It's not very often I get to surprise Debbie, so yes, that's a first, and we like firsts. So this week I've been workshop lead with these wonderful people who will introduce themselves to you shortly, and they'll complete our report out in 15 minutes. And for all of you that have enabled the team to step away from the work that normally keeps them occupied, we know now our jobs are to do the work and to improve the work, and they've spent the whole week blood, sweat and tears, working on improving the process a day of discharge. So the boundaries are from when, as a patient, I'm told I can go home, to when I leave Ward 9 with all of the elements of discharge complete. And you might be surprised that in that short process, no less than 12 to 15 staff members are required to complete those actions. So that's individual actions from staff. So when you think about the time that's been reduced in that process, just remember we still need those 12 to 15, and that's a straightforward discharge. So that provides ample opportunity for lapses in communications and in frustrations. Okay, I'm going to hand over to Richard.
Hi, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So my name is Richard Stevens. I'm KPO Specialist and I was the team leader for this RPIW. So the target progress report detailed 6 metrics. So the overall lead time is, as Kathy's already said, when a patient's informed they can be discharged home to when they leave the ward with all their discharge elements. Currently that was taking 4 hours and 36 minutes and the target was set by our sponsor for 2 hours. A sub-lead time from when a patient is informed of their discharge until the pharmacy staff commence TTOs is currently 95 minutes with a target set at 20 minutes. We had 2 quality defects, percentage of discharge summaries requiring rework following medication reconciliation. That was currently defect rate of 30%, target set for that is 0. And patient experience metric around how a patient feels about their experience after they've received their discharge summary has an 86% defect rate with a target set at 0. Our productivity gain, it's the first time we've actually got to use this one, is looking at the productivity of our operators involved within the process. Currently, it's equivalent to a whole-time equivalent, 0.5 whole-time equivalent, and in time that takes 57 minutes. The target was set by reducing that by 50% to 0.25 of a whole-time equivalent and a time of 28 minutes. 5S levels for the nursing staff, nursing station was level 1 with a target set at level 4. The TAC time, or pace of the work for this process against our daily demand, is 120 minutes. The value stream boundaries you can see again as from that discharge home until they leave the ward, with the cycle boxes showing the steps in the process, who's involved in each step. Delays can be seen between the steps, defects and waste on the Kaizen burst, and the current value added time for our patient is 12%. The current process flow chart shows the waste in the process, and the red lines denotes defects through the whole process. So I'm now going to hand you over to the team who are going to tell you their story of the week.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brian Bennett and I'm a PEEP member, which is Patient Experience Panel member. This week, one of the problems we've identified was our patients were not fully aware of the discharge process and were frustrated at waiting a long time for their discharge letter. They also wanted more information about the TTOs and transport arrangements. Our idea to solve this problem was for the patient was to update the patient leaflet that had been created in a previous RPIW. Although this leaflet already exists on the ward, feedback from patients told us they wanted to include specific information around discharge. Following initial testing with patients and staff, it's been decided to test for 30 days a laminated copy with unlaminated leaflets in other wards. So the laminated copy will be in one bay only initially. Following patient feedback, we will then determine which will be the best option. As a PEEP volunteer, I regularly engage with patients and I've been pleased to be part of the RIPW by gathering initial and ongoing patient experience data. I'm particularly pleased that following the work this week, the patient experience data has been improved by 100%, with one feedback from one patient where they stated they felt valued. So that's nice. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Narinda and I'm the ward clerk on Ward 9. The problem identified during the RPIW was the disorganisation of the nurses' station. So the environment required 5S: sorting, simplifying, sweeping, standardising and self-discipline. We were at a level 1 and the goal was to achieve a level 4. The idea to solve this problem was to sort the documentation at the nurses' station, so separating the nurses' and doctors' documents. This involved removing the doctors' documents such as X-ray, CT, ultrasound, cardiology cards and placing them at the end of the medical notes trolley for the doctors to use on ward rounds and not having to travel back and forth to the nurses' station for these documents. We tested the nurses' station and the feedback was very positive from the nurses. They commented that the documents they required were much easier to locate rather than looking for things in other areas and in folders. The doctors too were happy with the changes, as the documents they required were easily accessible on the ward round and immediately to hand, resulting in achieving a level 3 and a more user-friendly work environment. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Chan and I am the red to green tracker for Ward 9. It was identified that currently the doctors were printing discharge summaries and then often struggling to find a nurse available to hand over the discharge summary after it was printed, resulting in a loss of valuable time. Our idea was to have a designated place for the discharge summary where everyone would know where to look, saving time searching in different places. We decided to put a rack behind the nursing station so it was visible to all staff on the ward, and doctors would now simply have to put the discharge summary in the corresponding rack when printed, ready for the nurse to proceed with the next task. We recently tested our idea by using plastic wallets and have received positive feedback from the staff from Ward 9 and the pharmacist about the new designated place for the discharge summary, and will continue to test our process.
Hi, my name's Emma. I'm one of the consultants on Ward 9 and one of the process owners for this RPIW.
Hello, my name is Fleur. I'm a physician associate, usually based on the cardiology ward.
Within the lead time of 4.5 hours, we noticed delays and waste endemic in the discharge process. We studied the processes involved in the completion of the discharge summary and found that often this was started only after the end of the morning's ward round, which is not ideal as many of the elements of the discharge preparation rely on this being completed first. We also looked at communication of the doctor's decision that a patient can go home with the nursing team and found that there was often a delay in this information being relayed. Our ideas to solve this problem focused mainly on setup reduction and the use of communication aids. We wanted to be clear that any interruptions to the ward round should also be kept to an absolute minimum. We've set up a daily 4 p.m. huddle led by our physician associate Alex, with junior doctors and the ward coordinator attending. We devised an agenda which incorporated discussion regarding potential next day discharges, which will allow Alex, who starts work at 8 a.m, to pre-prepare these discharge summaries prior to the daily board round, which starts at 9. Following the 4 p.m. huddle, the junior doctors have been asked to review and update the TTO medications for these patients to allow Alex to complete the discharge summary the following morning. The huddle also allowed us to identify patients who could have transport pre-booked. Transport booked the day before a discharge carries a higher priority than on the day booking currently. We developed roles for participants of the 9 a.m. board round to allow the PSAG board to be updated with potential discharges during the meeting, and we've introduced a blue visual Kanban to be placed at the end of the patient's bed to indicate to bay nurses that a patient has been told that they can go home. Finally, we introduced a computer on wheels for the ward round to enable the discharge summary to be finalised and printed from the patient's bedside to minimise any ward round interruption. Huddles were well received and discharges yesterday were all pre-prepared for those patients who had been on the ward the day before. This has contributed significantly to an overall reduction in lead time by allowing the parts of the process reliant on the completion of the discharge summary to start earlier than had previously been the case. Reviewing and printing the discharge summary from the patient's bedside also gives the consultant the opportunity to review the paperwork and introduces an element of quality assurance and defect reduction.
Hello, my name is Julie and I'm an advisor with NHS Improvement. One problem we addressed was the variation in discharge processes due to staff being unaware of who was available on a daily basis to undertake these tasks. A member of staff on Ward 9 has undertaken Lean for Leaders training and produced a production board. We used PDSA to further develop the board so that we could see at a glance who is available to attend the 4 p.m. huddle, to initiate discharge summaries after the huddle or between 8 and 9 a.m. the following morning, and to progress discharge activities. We tested the impact that this further development of the board and the setup reduction had on the completion of discharge tasks. The changes led to early identification of patients for discharge and of staff available to complete these tasks. The significant reduction in time achieved was measured both through simulation and through patient journeys.
Hello, I'm Kate. I'm a sister on Ward 9 and also one of the process owners. One of the problems we addressed through this process was a delay in communication between the pharmacy and after the board round. This was regarding any definite discharges. This was with 95 minutes. That proved to be a loss of waste of time and also motion. The ideas we came up with, Jazz and I, the pharmacist, so I went down to pharmacy just to watch their team and get a better understanding of what their process is of dispensing. I noticed there's a lot of work going on within their team with the pharmacists and also the technicians, and it's not as easy as I first thought. The test that we done during this was we had a pharmacy on the board round. This lasted for about 45 minutes, and this was also a waste of time and also motion, as they were able then to work on different wards with other things that they needed to do. We also trialled a pharmacy tech coming onto the ward between 9:30 and 9:45. Again, that was also a waste of time and also motion, as there's no definite discharge on that date and at that time. We also trialled the nurse bleeping the pharmacy after board round regarding definite discharges, and the pharmacy then came onto the ward quite quickly. So the results, by following the PDSA, which is Plan, Do, Study and Act, and after testing, we found the quickest process was to bleep the pharmacist. This was also supported with feedback from both the pharmacy and the nursing. This will also be monitored between 30, 60 and 90 days.
Hello, my name is Jazz. I'm one of the pharmacists. We found a number of delays in the process of providing patients with their discharge medication. One of the problems we identified was location of medicines. We found that nurses were quite often unaware whether their patients' medicines were on the ward, especially if they were busy with other duties. This resulted in a waste of time and motion for both the runner and the nurses as they tried to find each other, and also location of medicines. We had a number of ideas involving the use of visual Kanbans, and these were all tested using the Plan, Do, Study, Act cycles. This resulted in a standard process which has been adopted by the ward. When pharmacy are bleeped and they check a patient's medicines for discharge, if nothing is required and all medicines are present on the ward, the pill icon on the PSAG board is turned green. If medicines are ordered, then when the runner is arriving on the ward, he is turning the pill icon green. And we've had some very positive feedback from this, and nursing staff and also the pharmacy team have said it's been really beneficial, as they've been able to identify when their medications are on the ward.
Hello, my name is Dan. I'm site manager of patient transport on site. We saw the potential for wasting time and motion and transportation within the process for arranging and dispatching patient transport. The process requires three main steps: booking by ward staff, making patient ready once all discharge elements are completed, and the ambulance team dispatching the right vehicle and crew. There are 15 different types of mobility for the patients. The idea was to use visual cues and standard work to reduce the potential for defects in old terminology and communication. The visual cues developed are the patient mobility classification poster and the two concise user guides. These have been put in a prominent position on the ward. We tested the time taken for a booking to be made via the app on the intranet versus the phone, and eligibility was also trialled on the ward with staff and patients. Simulation with the ward clerk was also utilised. Work was done with the discharge lounge to ensure consistent and accurate processes in taking responsibility for patients from the ward. This includes the transport needs of those patients. It was found to be more efficient for the app to be used for making ready and bookings to be made via telephone through our call centre. If I should be requested to do further training whilst building further relationships on the ward, I feel this will be a positive start to the journey and change of improvement.
So I'd now like to share with you the results. So with the introduction of a huddle at 4 p.m. the day before discharge, using setup reduction to commence the discharge summary, along with improving the overall communication on the ward utilising visual controls, lead time has been reduced by 60% to 1 hour 52 minutes. By contacting the pharmacy team with the bleep following the board round, the sub-lead time was reduced by 100%. Now takes no time at all. Within the introduction of the huddle to update medication for potential discharges, particularly in regard to admitted meds, we did see a reduction of that to 0% on day 3. I'm particularly pleased to report that our patient satisfaction has improved by 100%. With all the changes to the process made by the team this week, productivity is reduced by 50% to 0.2 of a whole-time equivalent, and great work on 5S has moved the level of the nursing station from a 1 to a 3. The value stream map shows all the Kaizen bursts have been addressed.
So, as you have heard, we have shortened and standardised the process of discharge. As a process owner, I will continue to PDSA, plan, do, study and act, and I'll look forward to sharing any measures with you in 30, 60 and 90 days. Let's continue with the good work.
And as another process owner, I just wanted to say that we're going to continue to embed all the changes that we've made over the next 3 months and ongoing from that. We've got a newspaper that contains 14 items that we need to continue to work through, and we're going to be making some measures at 30, 60 and 90 days.
Just before I hand over to Saskia, our sponsor, it just leaves me to just say a few thank yous. Obviously, these weeks just aren't possible unless we get honest feedback from the ward. So big thank you to Ward 9, to Surge, to Pharmacy, to everybody that's helped. Those that have given away certain containers and enablers. Carla's done a fantastic job making friends again around PRH. It's been an interesting week for us. It's the first time during RPIW we've been in a position that we're able to open our doors and have partner organisations come in and help us with this work. So a big thank you to Dan and Julie for making that so pleasurable this week. And I don't know where Brian gets his energy from, but if I'm that fit at, what is it, 21 now? I'll be very happy. He's worked tirelessly all week, so thank you. And the lessons I just want to draw out this week is we're climbing quite a mountain with our moving towards standard work. We're moving from many ways to do something to let's all agree on one way of doing it, whether it's completely the right way to do it or not. Let's measure it and let's see how we can then move to the next level. So we do our Kaizen activity, get our gains in our safety and in reducing the burden. We pause, we measure, we reflect, and then we go again. So it's been an absolute delight to go back to Ward 9 for the 3rd time and to see those gains. Each time it's just easier, the concepts are understood and the gains are even quicker. So just to quote there, and that's particularly for Simon as he goes off to climb his volcanoes. We'll only get to the top by one step at a time, and we've taken several steps this week. So a big thank you to everybody, and over to Saskia.
Hello everybody, I'm Saskia, and it's been my great privilege to be the sponsor for this RPIW, which is the 6th Respiratory RPIW, and extremely challenging. It's been an absolutely inspirational team. As always, people come with different expectations and different agendas and different understandings of what discharge actually means and the complexities involved in it, but this team have absolutely embraced that. And when I set my challenges at the beginning of the week of reducing the lead time, so the total time taken from 4 hours 36 minutes to 2 hours, I thought that was going to be quite difficult to achieve. But they've gone further than that. They've taken it down to 1 hour and 52 minutes. And what's more, they've cut the time from 95 minutes to telling the patient going home to informing the pharmacist to no minutes. And what's even more challenging, I thought, was cutting the actual time that was already being spent by people. Forget the waste time in between, but the actual time spent by individual people doing tasks. They've managed to cut that by over half as well. And that is a real show of increased efficiency in the way we're doing things rather than just cutting out the wasted time for the patients. The challenge, as always, is to continue and maintain these changes, but we'll obviously be measuring those at 30, 60 and 90 days. And from my point of view, with the pressures that we see in the hospital from the point of view of patient flow all the time, I think I would like to roll this out to other areas very quickly, because I think this, obviously we've done a lot of different things on the way, which Debbie will speak about, but this, absolutely, you can see the impact, and you can see how we might stand a chance of getting patients out before midday. So it just remains me to thank the team and Kathy and Richard very much for all their hard work. Thank you.
Okay, so when I walked in the room, this team were really quiet. And I now know that you were really quietly confident. You've done an amazing job, so thank you very much. And I'd just like to echo Kathy's comments about our external partners and Brian and the value that you've added to this value stream. So today was always going to be a sad day for me, because this is the last RPIW of this value stream. Made even worse now by the surprise of receiving the flowers, so thank you very much for that. So the value stream will close after we've done the 90-day measures for this RPIW. And the reason for that is that we've made improvements across all the areas that we set out to do back when we looked at this value stream in October 2015 when we had the Sponsor Development Day, so nearly 2 years ago. The value stream for the whole process was for the patient arriving on the acute medical unit to being ready to go, ready for discharge with all SAS actions completed. So this final RPIW has been absolutely key to achieving this, and I have to say, what a way to finish. I think the challenge that, Saskia set as a sponsor to half the time in the week that you've been doing it to get below that is absolutely amazing. So really, really well done. I'm not sure whether it's the best result ever in an RPIW week. We'll check on that. So the whole value stream has covered patients in ambulatory emergency care coming in at the front door. We've covered discharge planning, the ward round, handover, the board round, and now the day of discharge. And we've rolled out improvements in all the RPIWs across all the areas and across to our acute medical units. We've made 13 different quality improvements and sustained them for our patients to the respiratory discharge process. And we've removed 1,357 clinical steps for each patient. So that's huge. And if you remember, that the reason why we chose the value stream is that 40% of our patients come in with a respiratory illness. So that's a significant improvement for 40% of our patients. From our baseline in October and from starting the work in March in 2016, we've been measuring all the way. And so what does that mean for our patients? It means that for patients on Ward 9, they've gone home 2.15 days earlier than when we started this work. On Ward 27, it's 1.23 days. That's huge for a patient, isn't it, to reduce that time that they've been spending with us in hospital. We've also improved by 28% the patient experience on the care and compassion score, achieving 95%, which is amazing. I am so proud of the work that we've done. So we will be doing a closure report, and we'll be doing the lessons learned as a team that, for all of us that we've learned. And I expect to report out on this before I leave and sharing with you the team's success and the difference that it's made for our patients at a future date. At that time, I shall also do some final thank yous. So thank you for now.
So I'm hoping that you can see me and hear me over there in PRH.
Yes.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. So just listening to the final value stream that we're doing for respiratory RPIW, There were a couple of things Tony and I were just mentioning it actually as we were sat there. The first thing I think to comment in is how professional you are. How professional you actually go about doing this work now. You know, 2 years ago this felt very strange and different, and yet to look at the way you present the information now, you would think you've been doing this forever. And one of the comments that I'd said when we were looking at the process was it's surprising just how many elements there are to the day of discharge. And I think one of the most powerful elements of this work is the fact that it allows us to see with clarity what's actually going on rather than what we think is going on. The reason I was late is because I've been in a meeting talking to the national leads about A&E, and I tell you what, in all of that conversation, it's things like I've heard today, it's the work that's being done by you all that is making a difference to our patients, that we'll see these improvements translate into areas like A&E. Our patients will be able to get into the hospital more easily and get home. So it's lovely to see Brian involved in the RPIW, bringing his energy to the team. And a couple of other observations about what I heard today, which I thought were particularly telling. The confidence in being able to say that we didn't actually need these people as part of the discharge team, and they could be better used elsewhere. We probably don't do that enough, actually pause and think about whether or not we're using the people that we have in the best possible way. I think, in addition, it was lovely to see that some of our colleagues from NHS Improvement have joined in this work so they can get a better appreciation for what we're trying to do. This will take time, but I think what this shows, and I think what the whole value stream for respiratory medicine shows, is that this is the right way for us to approach improving care and getting our patients to be right at the centre of everything that we do. I wanted to just mention some of the outcomes as well. Now, I don't want to sound as if I'm repeating what everybody said, but to halve the time from 4 hours to 2, why is that important? Well, let me share this with you. If you're an elderly patient and you arrive in A&E in the afternoon, and you can be moved out of the department in a couple of hours, then that makes such a profound difference to your mortality and to the amount of time you spend in the hospital. So halving those times that you've done today means that we'll have more patients discharged in the morning, and the majority of our patients want admission in the afternoon, and they'll be able to come to the wards and get the right care and have a shorter length of stay. So they'll be able to get home, and they're not going to be staying so long that we find that they can't go home without support. So if you're a patient, you know, they will be thanking you for your hard work in improving their ability to be able to get home. I think the other thing to say is that we shouldn't underestimate the power of 5S. It might seem like a small thing to readdress the area of the nurses' station, but I've got to say, everywhere I've seen the 5S work being done, it's had a profound impact. If we think about the child who was needing a piece of kit in our A&E, and the team couldn't find it and ended up having to go into an ambulance to get it because the room wasn't tidy enough, and now that risk has been completely removed through 5S'ing the respiratory environment. That's also been true in Lisa's ward as well, here at RSH, where we had a patient who was struggling to breathe, and the improvements of things like grab packs. All of these things are making a difference to the people that place their care in our arms. So thank you again for taking the time to look at every aspect of the work that you do. And just before I finish, it's very easy to on these occasions to celebrate all of the work that you're doing. You make it very easy for people like me to say these things, but it doesn't happen without hard work and planning. And in my attempts to see if we can get Mrs. Cadden to cry a tear, can I add my thanks as well. Debbie is a real force when it comes to this work. It's a passion that she shared. It's very visible in everything that she does. And certainly we will be diminished when Debbie goes. Her absolute desire to be able to embed this work is evident in everything that she does. And I have no doubts that some of the success that we see through our values stream for respiratory is because of the great leadership that she's shown and the passion that she's given to it in supporting all of the team members that have gone through the 6 Rapid Improvement Weeks. So thank you very much, Debbie. Which I'm not sure how we're going to do this one, Kathy, is that we've got some certificates.
Yeah.
So I'm virtually going to be thanking you for the certificates.
So I think we've been nice enough to Debbie. Now we've given her a job to do as well. So Debbie, if we can invite you on Simon's behalf to give out the certificates, and Richard's team lead will.
Brian.
So we have Brian. Shout the names, Richard.
Dorinda. Shan. Emma. Fleur. Julie. Kate. Jazz. And Dan.
And we want to recognise Ward 9, the home team. So we have a certificate to go back to the ward. And we have collected the certificate. I think Alex, if you would come up. Is anybody else here from Ward 9? Sarah? Come on. And you will have noticed that Navage is our lean leader and owner of the production board, so that's brilliant. So it just leaves Simon and I to thank you for coming. I'm going to look at Simon, see if he wants to say anything else while he's thinking.
Yeah, just one little thing if I may, Kathy. So I don't know whether any of you are attending tonight's Values and Practice Awards for the staff, and hopefully some of you are there. But I would remind you that this work is the sort of thing that you should be nominating through those award ceremonies. They are there to really celebrate the hard work and success of our people. So please take those opportunities when you're thinking about the work that you're doing, whether it's in 5S, 5Y, whether it's in a Kaizen event, a Rapid Improvement Week. Those small incremental changes that you make, they all count. So please do make your nominations. Next year will come around really quickly.
Yeah.
So just to remind everyone, thank you.
Thank you for that. And very lastly, just dates for your diary. RPIW is happening again next week. So next week, Nick will be leading an RPIW in recruitment, I'm just looking at Nick to make sure I get this right, looking at the advert that goes out for our nurse recruitment. So a really key issue for us at the moment is how do we better sell ourselves to the nurses out and about. And so we've got a great team next week, and the report out will be happening next Friday, back to the normal time at 12:30 on both sites, because nurse recruitment obviously is crucial across all of our sites. So I won't physically be here next week, but I look forward to hearing about it when we're back. So thank you, and have a good afternoon.